The moment you become a parent, your heart isn't just your own anymore. A part of it lives outside your body, fragile and exposed. For Petty Officer First Class Marcus Riptide Thorne, a single father and a decorated Navy SEAL, that vulnerability was a constant shadow, far more terrifying than any enemy combatant. One cold, rainy Tuesday, that shadow materialized not in some hostile desert, but in a dimly lit parking garage. And what Marcus did next didn't just save a life. It unspooled a secret the Navy had guarded for decades. Stay with me, because the true reason the Admiral appeared at his door the next morning will shock you. The night had been endless. Marcus had just flown back from a brutal 72-hour operation in the Gulf, the kind that steals your sleep for weeks. All he wanted was a shower, a bourbon, and the sight of his 8-year-old daughter, Chloe, sleeping soundly. He was grabbing a late-night gas station coffee, the awful, burnt kind that smells like jet fuel and regret, when he heard the shriek. It wasn't the sound of an accident. It was the raw, guttural terror that every combat veteran recognizes instantly. It cut through the dreary drizzle and the hiss of the pumps like a flare. Marcus froze, the styrofoam cup halfway to his lips, his exhaustion instantly replaced by that hyper-alert, crystalline focus trained into every SEAL. What he saw next, I guarantee no father should ever have to witness, and it's what started this incredible chain of events. He dropped the coffee and sprinted toward the parking garage across the street, his heart hammering out a rhythm he hadn't felt since a close-quarters firefight in Fallujah. 3 large, menacing figures were cornering a young woman near a delivery van, their voices low and sharp, hers a trembling whisper of pleas. He didn't stop to weigh the odds. Years of training had stripped away the instinct for self-preservation in the face of injustice. He moved like a ghost, a blur of muscle and rage, hitting the first man in the throat before the guy even registered his presence. The sound was sickening, a wet thud that silenced the night. The second man spun, reaching into his jacket, but Marcus was already on him. A textbook sweep taking his legs out from under him, followed by a swift, precise impact that left the man wheezing, collapsed on the oily concrete. You might think it ended there, but the last man proved to be Marcus's true test, and a chilling echo of his past was about to surface. The third assailant was bigger, younger, fueled by panicked adrenaline. He didn't pull a gun. He lunged with a rusted utility knife, its blade catching the faint light. Marcus was tired, his body protesting after 3 days awake, but Chloe's face flashed in his mind. The memory of her, small and innocent, was a far more potent fuel than fear. He dodged the clumsy thrust, his right arm locking around the man's wrist, twisting, applying pressure until the man's roar turned into a howl of pain and the knife clattered away. A final, forceful shove against a concrete pillar left the man dazed and broken. It was over in under 30 seconds. Marcus knelt, his breath ragged, and checked on the young woman. She was huddled against the van, weeping, physically unharmed but clearly shattered. As he was speaking to her, assuring her help was on the way, his phone rang. It was Chloe. "Daddy?" she whispered, her voice thick with sleep. "I had a bad dream. Can you tell me a story?" He looked at the chaos he'd just created. The broken men, the sirens now wailing in the distance, and whispered back, "I'm almost home, sweetheart. I promise. Everything is safe now." Little did he know, someone had been watching the entire brutal, heroic encounter from the shadows, and their reaction was about to change his life forever. The next morning, the exhaustion was a lead weight. Marcus was helping Chloe tie her shoes, trying to be a normal dad in a world that insisted he be a warrior, when the doorbell rang. Standing on his front porch, flanked by 2 serious-looking Master Chiefs, was Rear Admiral Andrew Vance, a legend in the Navy, a man whose picture hung on the walls of the Pentagon. Marcus snapped to attention, bewildered. An admiral does not show up unannounced at a petty officer's house to chat about the weather. "At ease, Thorne," the admiral said, his voice a low rumble. "I'm here about last night." Marcus braced himself for a reprimand. The use of excessive force, the inevitable paperwork, the bureaucracy of heroism. But the admiral only looked past him, his eyes settling on Chloe, who was peeking around her father's leg. What the Admiral said next silenced the entire world for Marcus, revealing the true weight of his sacrifice and why he was really there. Admiral Vance cleared his throat, his gaze returning to Marcus, no longer the stern commander, but a man burdened by memory. "Petty Officer Thorne," he began. "Last night you were a warrior and a father. You protected a life." He paused. 25 years ago, in a hostile, unforgiving landscape, a young SEAL named David Vance was pinned down, outnumbered, and out of ammo. He had a secret mission: to get his intelligence to a safe zone. 3 men cornered him. He fought like hell, but he didn't make it. "He was my younger brother." The Admiral's eyes were misty, but his voice was steady. "The young woman you saved last night, Petty Officer Thorne, was David's daughter. My niece. She had no idea who her father was, but a fragment of his sacrifice, a watch he wore, led those men to her. They were after something he died protecting." Marcus stared, the pieces clicking into place. The Admiral, the mission, the 3 men, the timing. He hadn't just saved a stranger. He had closed a circle of honor that spanned a quarter of a century. The story he told Chloe later that evening was not one of violence, but of connection, and it was the most important story he ever told. As the Admiral turned to leave, he placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "I came here to thank the man who saved my brother's legacy, and who, unknowingly, helped me keep a promise I made to a dying man." Marcus finally understood. His life wasn't a series of isolated missions. It was a thread in a vast tapestry of duty and human connection. He watched the Admiral leave, then knelt down and hugged Chloe tightly. "Daddy," she mumbled into his shirt. "Can we read the book about the sea turtles again?" He smiled, the immense weight of the night lifting from his shoulders, replaced by the simple, beautiful purpose of being her dad. "We can," he promised. "We absolutely can." It wasn't about the fight. It was about the peace he brought home. He had faced down 3 thugs, but his greatest victory was simply being present for his daughter. And that, my friends, is the truest definition of a hero.